Alright, like I said yesterday, this is chapter 1 of the Borderline Manual. I'm not going to have much time to read this now, but getting it started and in editing you won't know. So chapter 1 is where does the term borderline come from? So I'm going to read it in French and then I'm going to kind of paraphrase it, so you're not going to hear the French because I'm going to edit it out. That's actually different from depression and anxiety. The term borderline means basically, just a border line, a limit between two different frontiers, two different sides, I guess, It was utilized to design a psychological problem without really saying what it consisted of. Not only did this diagnostic not indicate what it was in particular, but the medical always associated this term with negative connotations like impossible to treat, very difficult, very resistant, manipulative, not a real sickness. So the term borderline until recently was considered just this big catch-all phrase when people would not be able to be compartmentalized into other diagnostics. So if it didn't fit into anything else, they just termed it borderline. If they did not respond well to medication or any other psychoanalysis that was offered at the time. So when you don't know why you're suffering and why you're doing crazy things, like cutting yourself to stop from having pain, it's extremely anguishing. And to top it off, on top of that, when the medical world is telling you that it's not a real sickness and that you're just someone who's difficult, it's not only frustrating but also cruel, because this aggravates the feeling of shame, isolation, and desperation. Okay, so this is a quote from someone who has borderline that was inserted into this page. They told me borderline. For more than 10 years, I've been feeling unstable. Unstable in my love life. I can't count how many times I've had romantic relationships. Unstable in my work. So as soon as my boss doesn't support me, I slam the door and I go elsewhere. Unstable with my family. My family doesn't understand me, and sometimes they understand me too much. It happens often that I'll hurt myself and drink excessively just to feel pain. That relieves me and makes me scared at the same time. So I've been told I have borderline. Deep down, I really don't know who I am. So, since the beginning of time, man has always searched to identify psychological conditions that could bring about suffering and problems at the heart of the community with people who are sick. And to do this, they use words. So about more than 2,000 years ago, Hippocrates talked about moods to define certain temperaments or characters, and they used colors to associate with those moods. So like red would be for anger and black would be for melancholy, etc. Okay, so this is a section talking about psychosis and neurosis. So the German psychiatrist Emil Kraepelin, who was from 1856 to 1926, he sought out throughout his career to establish this classification of mental illness founded on certain criteria in clinical objectives. So based on certain clinical criteria. In the 6th edition of his book, Psychiatric Treatment, which was published in 1889, remember I'm translating, he used the term psychosis to refer to psychic states that were basically a profound alteration of your consciousness, like identity troubles, troubles organizing your thoughts, like these types of examples. So he used the term psychosis to designate people who had trouble with their identity and thought organization with respect to reality. Today we call this type of chronic psychosis, we're talking about schizophrenia and bipolar disorder.